The European Accessibility Act is coming soon. This takes effect in June 2025, and it's been a big topic in test automation circles this year because automated tests are a great place to find a wide range of accessibility issues. In this video, I'll talk a little bit about the purpose of the European Accessibility Act, and then we'll look at how Cypress Cloud with Cypress Accessibility can help you solve the automation piece of your accessibility program, which will also include other things like manual testing, user validation, audits, and things like that. So first of all, the purpose of the European Accessibility Act is really to make things more accessible for people with disabilities using software. And it does this by harmonizing the accessibility standards across the 27 EU member states. This is also going to benefit businesses because it makes competition among EU countries much easier. If you're a small or medium-sized business, here is one set of standards that will work across the EU. So helping users is one motivation, but also getting access to a larger market is a different motivation for following the provisions of the Act and becoming more accessible. So what can you do in your automation pipeline? In Cypress Accessibility, we have a unique approach that requires no setup and runs completely parallel to your existing Cypress tests. So here's an example of what that looks like in the cloud. These runs are all recorded to Cypress Cloud, and they all have an additional accessibility score alongside the passing and failing information that you might be used to seeing. When we click in here, we can see an automatically generated report that's got all the pages and components that were seen in this test run. This run had 396 tests, and we see various parts of our demo application here. We can see accessibility information about all of them, including how severe the rules were that failed and things like that. We can also flip over to the rules, and this is where you see the underlying Axe core rules that are running and the outcome across the entire run of what was detected there. Here we've got more of a backlog approach where we can see things across different rules that are probably going to be on multiple pages, but can be identified here just as violations of a single rule in this merged report. And I'm clicking through to show you what the debugging process looks like. We have lots of other documentation and videos about this, so I'm not going to repeat all that here. I'm just going to show you that this is a different HTML and CSS snapshot than you're probably used to seeing for accessibility. Usually you might get an image at the best of times, or sometimes just an HTML snippet. Here you always have the entire web page to debug with for every issue that we report. We might see multiple states of the same component. We might see the same component in multiple different places, and you can cycle through example states if you need to see what's going on. There's a couple of shortcuts here for every issue as well. You can print to the console, you can grab Markdown or plain text to share the issue or make tickets, and a bunch of other things that are a part of the UI. One of the most important things in the Cypress Accessibility UI is the run comparison feature. So I'm showing that here, comparing two branches. One is the one that we want to merge that changes a form in our project, and the other is the main branch that has the baseline report on it. Here we can see that we've actually introduced two new issues. There's no other major changes in accessibility. There's no rules that used to be passing and suddenly started failing, but we did have an existing violation on the form elements must have labels rule, and now we have two more. So in this report, I can go through and I can see exactly which two elements were introduced only on this branch. This is really useful if you're standing up an accessibility process for the first time. You know you're going to have issues for a little while that haven't been addressed, but you still want developers making pull requests to be aware if they are adding to the pile of work. This facilitates that type of workflow, and then there's a bunch of other things you can check out in our documentation around different ways to use it, programmatic access to the results so you can block pull requests or do your own kind of custom alerting. There's all sorts of stuff in here. And the idea behind all of this is to take the issues that can be automated this way, like missing labels or bad HTML structures that are confusing for screen readers and things like that, and grab all those issues as quickly and efficiently as possible through your automated testing, and then surface them in a really easy to understand and debug way, so the automation piece of the puzzle can be as effortless as possible on the setup and training side, and you can focus completely on understanding the implications of these failures, how do we fix them, and how are they connected to your other pillars of accessibility, like your design process and your manual testing and things like that, that are probably also going to be ramping up at your company if your goal is to comply with the European Accessibility Act. So with all that said, if you would like to see this in action in your own project and you can record to Cypress Cloud, just reach out to us for a trial and we'll be able to set you up and show you how it works with your own data so you can get a sense of how much accessibility information can be gleaned from your existing Cypress workflows without having to do any other steps.